Now, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, has gazetted an amendment to the lockdown regulations to allow cinemas, restaurants, theatres and casinos to start operating. While some rules are specified, the business's reopening is subject to strict adherence to all health protocols and social distancing measures, as well as directions that must be issued by the relevant cabinet minister in their sectors after consultation with Health Minister Dr. Lungi Mtshali. Now, it's still unclear when these directions will be announced. The regulations published by Dlamini-Zuma's department late on Thursday night say cinemas may be open subject to a limit of about 50 people or less. The same also applies to theatres. Now, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs spokesperson Lungi Mtshali joins us now on the line for a bit more on this. Lungi, thanks for your time and welcome to Newsfeed, the AM edition. Perhaps we should start with a point of clarity. What exactly do these amendments now allow?
Thank you, and good morning to you, Ayanda, and your viewers and listeners. The regulations allow more sectors of the economy to start opening. As the President says, that we need to start balancing the saving of lives with the saving of livelihood. So these regulations effectively give effect to the President's statement that as we balance between saving lives, as you can see that the pandemic is not abating yet. In fact, the numbers are increasing. So as we open these sectors, we must exercise caution as well.
Yeah, and what sectors exactly are impacted by these amendments?
So it's the restaurants, and I know that the restaurants have made quite a number of appeals in terms of how ready they are to comply with the COVID-19 regulations, but also casinos and conferences for business purposes are allowed to now operate.
Right. The devil, of course, Lungi, you'll know, is in the detail, and people have been calling for that for quite some time. Give us a sense of the specific, I guess, if you like, measures that are going to be put in place in order to stave off the possible spread of COVID-19 within these sectors as they finally start reopening.
Yeah, first of all, we want to note that the delay in terms of issuing these directions. But as we've always said, that we want to err on the side of caution. And as I said, that we can see that the numbers are growing, and therefore for us it makes it would be irresponsible for us to just blanket open all the sectors. But we're saying that the Minister of Tourism, where restaurants are concerned, will, I think, by midday today have issued direction in terms of what are the do's and don'ts as we open this sector. And likewise, the Minister of Trade and Industry will issue directions that will guide the casinos in terms before they open. But we expect that these directions will be gazetted as early as today, because these conversations with the sectors have been ongoing, so they know exactly what needs to happen. So it won't be starting from scratch.
Okay, that's brilliant news, I guess, because that, I guess, in some respects will speed up the process. But are you able to take us into your confidence about what some of the stakeholders, for lack of a better term, were most concerned about within those engagements?
Well, they're concerned about the social distancing measures that we as government are proposing, because I suppose it affects their revenue. But these are measures that we have had to take, taking into consideration where we are with the pandemic. If you'll remember, when we started the lockdown period, the rate of infection was doubling every 2 to 3 days. But with the lockdown, we managed to sort of put brakes on that, and now it was doubling every 15 days. We're seeing a trend now that that doubling rate is also decreasing. So we're doubling it around 10 days, which is worrying for us, and that's why these measures have to be put in place.
Speak to us about where this now puts the letter that the Restaurant Association of South Africa sent, I understand, to the presidency. Now, yeah. I'll be upfront in saying I'm not quite sure what the contents of that letter was, but I do imagine that whatever it was is likely needing to be reviewed now, given this development.
The indication that we have heard from them is that until we as government gazette the directions that the Minister of Tourism must their needs are, will they take their needs as not being addressed. That's why we are moving with speed to make sure that we expedite the gazetting of those directions. So we don't expect that to be a big issue going forward, but it's something that we just have to do.
The very real possibility, though, Lungi, is, of course, you might get a whole lot more sectors coming forward now and using this development to motivate why they, too, should be allowed to resume operating. In fact, we know of traditional leaders adding to that growing list of individuals or lists. Speak to us about how you're going to approach that problem that admittedly started a long time ago from the moment government started opening some sectors of the economy.
We are also proactively engaging sectors that we know or that have approached us in the past to say we are open to discussing the measures that can be followed to open up the sector. Remember, one of the sectors that was really problematic was the personal services sector, including the hair salons and nail salons. So we managed to get past that, and we're confident that we also, with all of these other sectors, the more we engage with them, we will find ways to allow businesses to open. I just want to remind also the listeners and the viewers that it is not government's purpose to stop businesses from operating, but we want to make sure that they operate under safe conditions, safe for themselves as businesses and safe for their customers as well.
Absolutely. You know, we often spoke about restaurants in line with other institutions like gyms and fitness centers. Are you able to tell us how far those discussions are at, and perhaps gesture to us about how quickly, if soon, some of those institutions will be allowed to start operating again?
We're looking at representations at the moment, specifically from the gyms. And we're working with the Minister of Trade and Industry and the Minister of Health to really look at what they are proposing. But I think that one, I don't know where we are exactly with that one, but we didn't include it in this bout of sectors that are open. But that's one of the sectors that we are currently engaging with.
All right. And, of course, one of the other sectors that have, I guess, taken up a lot of space in the news cycle was the sector to do with tobacco products and the like. There is a court battle that's currently taking place, for lack of a better term. But are we any closer to be able to finding some amicable solution insofar as that is concerned?
Unfortunately, though, that case, that sector, we've got two cases that are active at the moment. I think between the sector and government, we haven't found one another yet. And we've said to the sector and to the public that we're not at war with the sector, but at the moment we're disagreeing on the direct effect that smoke in particular has on COVID-19. We're saying that there's a direct link because smoking, the act of smoking itself is attacks the lungs, and so does COVID-19. So we haven't really found one another there.
All right, well, we'll see how that pans out. Thank you very much for getting us into the picture insofar as these new regulations are concerned. Certainly appreciate your time. That there is Lungi Mtshali, who is the spokesperson for the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department. New regulations coming in, allowing now for restaurants to start sitting, casinos, museums, galleries, some library archives are also starting to be able to operate. I understand that technically means, because it's been gazetted, the law comes into effect with immediacy, and I imagine, of course, many of you will start reacting to that. Let us know how you're thinking about making sense of these regulations yourself at Newzroom 405.